For this afternoon's program, we are pleased to bring together several outstanding speakers from the U.S. and Japan with a significant expertise in the economic and social areas, who will talk about their own experiences, but will engage with us in a dialogue on how Japan can achieve the goal of greater advancement of women in Japan. As you know, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe had articulated the imperative of growing Japan's economy and placed a high priority on the empowerment of women to achieve that goal. The growth of the economy in Japan is something that is good for the United States and good for our world economy. And so we believe that it is important to work closely with Japan to achieve that goal. This afternoon's program is organized in two parts. First, we will have remarks by three speakers who will talk about Prime Minister Abe's goals for Womenomics, what is the current status of women in Japan, and what are the goals and opportunities for U.S. and Japan collaboration. We'll then take a short break, and the second panel will explore specific ways from the policy perspective how that can be implemented. We're going to talk specifics. Each session will include an opportunity for Q&A from the audience. The session then, of course, will be followed by a networking reception, which will enable further conversations with the speakers and with all of you. So I'm very pleased again, and I'm especially pleased that we have so many men in the audience, because as we know, this is an issue that is not a women's issue, but a societal issue. It's a global issue, and we need to ensure that we are all working together to find the best solutions. For our first panel, I'm very pleased that we have Ms. Bando, who is the Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sport, Science, and Technology, which is better known as MEXT. And Ms. Bando flew in from Japan this morning to be with us. She will talk about the Prime Minister's policy goals and the status of women in Japan today. So, Ms. Bando, thank you.
Thank you very much. So thank you for giving me the presentation, giving me the chance to give presentation at this US-Japan Council Symposium. Today, I would like to talk about 3 points. How the Abe administration views promotion of women's activities, what effort it is making in the target in this regard, and what issues must be overcome to boost women's activities. So I would like to use slides. The first arrow of the Abe administration's economic policy, known as Abenomics, the bold monetary policy, and the second arrow, flexible financial policy, fiscal policy, have already been released. The third arrow, the strategy for revitalization of Japan through economic growth, is now being launched. Significantly, the participation of women's activities has been prioritized as a key element in the growth strategy. Up to now, in Japan, women's activities have always been discussed within the context of social policy. However, Prime Minister Abe has positioned the greater participation of women as a core element of the economic growth strategy. The reasons are as follows. In Japan, the decreasing size of the labor force due to the falling birth rate and the aging of society is a great concern. Japan's greatest untapped potential resources is the power of Japanese women. Allowing women to demonstrate their utmost potential and capability will lead to the securing of human resources who will support new areas of growth. Moreover, the expansion of the female workforce and the promotion of women's participation in management will bring diverse values and perceptions into many fields, creating new services and products. The creation of innovation will revitalize the entire society. On top of that, individual families with double income will have increased household income and so purchasing power, which will lead to the generation of a virtuous economic cycle. In other words, the full utilization of women's power will be a key factor for Japan's economic growth and a catalyst for concrete results. The advocacy of the concept of Womenomics is gaining greater traction in Japanese society. It asserts that the more women are encouraged to participate in society, the higher the economic growth rate will become. Our policies focusing on the utilization of women's power share absolute commonality with the concept of womenomics. The promotion of women's activities is not an idea only of a government. These days, many Japanese people believe that making a country in which all women shine and flourish is vital for Japanese continuous growth. For this, we must prepare work environment that are conductive for women to work in and enhance work opportunities in areas where women can participate. Yet many problems must be solved first. I would like to talk briefly about the current situation for women in Japan. So by international standards, the participation of women in society is very low. The World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Index shows that Japan ranks 105th out of 136 countries, a very low ranking. The low percentage of women occupying leadership positions aggravates this situation. The level of Japanese education is very high, and many women are highly able. However, opportunities for women to demonstrate their ability and participate in the policy decision-making process are inadequate. The main reason is the difficulty in maintaining both work and family lives. And another reason is deep-seated thinking of prejudice about fixed gender roles, a kind of a gender bias. So I would like to show some specific data on illustrate these points. This slide shows the percentage of women occupying positions of leadership in Japan. In the current situation, for national civil servant, for example, the percentage of women at the director level or above at government ministries is is a mere 2.8%. The government has set a target of women occupying at least 30% of leadership posts by 2020. But even for areas other than the National Civil Service, there is still a long way to go to meet this target. This graph shows women's labor force participation by age group. The red line is Japan, and the light blue line is the United States. In contrast to the trapezoid lines shown by other countries, the line for Japan is an M-shaped curve. The M-shaped curve means that many women quit work to marry and have children and then return to the labor market after their children have grown. Looking at the employment rate for female, Looking at the employment rate for female, of university graduates in OECD countries, you can see that the percentage for Japanese women is 66.1%, much lower than the OECD average of 79%, and indicates that women with high ability are not being utilized. This graph shows the amount of time men spend for childcare and housework. Husbands with children aged 6 or younger spend only 1 hour a day for housework and childcare. This is very low compared with other advanced countries. It is connected not only to the gender bias, but to the problem of long working hours of Japanese men. You can see that the main burden of housework and child caring tasks falls on women. This graph showed the thinking of men and women on gender roles. Please look at the red sections. The proportions for men and women answering agree or agree somewhat for the idea that men should work outside and women should work at home, women should stay at home. So the number of the people, so have just arrived continuously decreased up until recently. The latest survey in 2012, however, shows for the first time to increase over the previous survey, which was taken in 2009. Moreover, nearly both half the women and men still agree or agree somewhat in the idea of different role by gender. And next graph shows an international comparison of thinking on gender roles. The comparison is for 2004. And the red section shows that agree and agree somewhat responses for the statement. We can see from an international survey that Japan has strongly entrenched thinking on gender roles. I believe you can understand that this deep-seated thinking on gender role is an obstacle hindering various efforts for the promotion of women's activities in Japan. I would also like to speak about the current situation regarding education and science and technology. This graph shows the number and percentage of Japanese female researchers and the international comparison. Although the percentage of female researchers in Japan has been increasing every year, it is currently only 14.4%, which is very low by international standards. The percentage of women among university faculty members is also low particularly in the field of science and engineering, and in the higher positions. The percentage of women studying science and engineering at the underground I beg your pardon, in the undergraduate level is almost quite very low. With all of these various issues, I would now like to introduce the effort the Abe administration is making to resolve them. This slide shows the measures for promoting women's activities included in the Japan revitalization strategy, the Abe administration strategy for economic growth. First off, increasing the percentage of women occupying leadership posts. At least 30% by 2020. And the employment rate for women aged 25 to 44 to 73% have been set as special target objectives. In order to reach these targets, the government is undertaking measures centering on 3 pillars. The first is providing incentives to companies. The government is providing assistance to companies taking positive action to support women, as well as publicly commending companies for good practices. The government is also encouraging companies to promote women to executive and management posts, and supporting the supporting to publish of such appointments. The second pillar is support to help women cope with their various life stages. The government is making efforts to help increase child care leave benefits and thus make it easier for women to take child care leave, and also promoting opportunities for men to take leave to care for their children. We are also supporting education and training for women during their child care leave to enable them to make a smooth return to their workplace. And not only for child care leave, the government is also making efforts for the employment of women who once quit their jobs to devote themselves to raising their children through the promotion of internship programs and trial employment to enable them, women, to return to the workforce. And to women who want to establish their own company, the government is providing them with funding needed to start our business. The government is also providing assistance to female researchers who have stopped their research activities to bear and care for their children in order to enable them to return to their research. We are also supporting universities making efforts to promote female researchers' activities and help them maintain their research and academic careers while raising their children. The third pillar is developing environment that allow both women and men to maintain their work and family life. We were developing and spreading more flexible way to work, including network or telework or telecommuting to promote a good work-life balance. Many women in Japan want to return to work by leaving their children at daycare centers. In Japan, there is a serious daycare center list problem. In other words, the demand for childcare services outstrips the supply. This has become a significant obstacle impeding women's activities and participation in society. The Abe administration has set a goal of 0 child care waiting list. To do this, the government is planning to create 200,000 daycare opening during the 2-year period from 2013 and 2014, and 400,000 openings, including for latest child care needs by the end of fiscal 2017, when the demand is expected to peak. As I have explained up to now, the Abe administration is making efforts from various perspectives to create environments that will enable women to be active in society. I myself, as a member of the government, and particularly as one in position of responsibility in the administration of MEXT, which is responsible for the development of human resources in Japan. I want to continue to do my utmost for the promotion of women's activities. For the great deal of wisdom is necessary. Today, I certainly would like to hear about the efforts being made in the United States for the furthering of women's activities and to gain wisdom for reaching our goal of unleashing the power of women in Japan. Thank you very much for attention.